Today on the 1012 Softball Show, we've got three absolutely fantastic interviews. Olympic softball legend Kat Osterman joins us. She'll be on the call for Oklahoma State UCF on Friday. Big 12 Player of the Week Sydney Malott of Iowa State is here. And UCF softball legend Sarah Willis joins us to talk about the AUSL. Plus, of course, me, Eric, and Leah are previewing a massive weekend of Big 12 softball coming up, the 1012 Softball Show.
Waiting for the best deals? Spring Black Friday savings are here. Shop early access now at Blinds.com and save big on new custom window treatments. Blinds.com makes upgrading your window treatments easy with free virtual consultations, free samples sent to your door, and professional measure and installation services. Plus, you always get Blinds.com's 100% satisfaction guarantee. Shop Blinds.com's Spring Black Friday early access now. Save up to 40% with minimum purchase, plus a free measure. Rules and restrictions may apply.
So good, so good, so good.
New markdowns up to 70% off are at Nordstrom Rack stores now. Fresh kicks, spring tops, new dresses. There's always a score.
I mean, the denim section is unreal.
Why do I rack? All the dresses.
I always find something amazing.
Head to your Nordstrom Rack store to find can't-miss deals on all the spring things. Great brands, great prices. That's why you rack.
Welcome to the 1012 Softball Show, part of the 1012 Podcast Network, partners with Sports Social, Europe's biggest sports podcast network, and with the AUSL's new softball league. We'll talk more about that coming up here in just a few minutes. It is Thursday, which means that we talk softball, because on Thursdays we talk softball, and I have about an hour's worth of interviews that are coming up for all of you to listen to. The softball legend, Texas Big 12 Olympic Kat Osterman is going to join us to talk about just her thoughts on the Big 12. She'll be on the call for UCF Oklahoma State on Friday on ESPNU. We've also got UCF alum and current coach Sarah Willis, who is also part of the AUSL. So is Kat. She's a GM. And Big 12 Player of the Week, Sydney Malott, who raked this weekend in Stillwater with 4 home runs. Absolutely ridiculous performance. So all three of those interviews are coming up. Of course, we've got 2 of the 3 posted on YouTube as well. So if you want to, you can go and check out the 1012 Podcast YouTube channel and find those interviews there. Joining me as they do every week for what I hope will be the briefest of times together. I think I booked 3 interviews just so that I wouldn't have to talk to her as long after what happened this weekend, but she is the trash talk queen, although Paige Nakashima may try and steal that title from her, of the 1012 network, the mother of the Cycloneers, one of the most famous Iowa State alum. Paige may take that from her as well. Leah Nelson.
I knew you booked 3 interviews this week, so we couldn't chat. I knew it. I'm not even surprised when you said we're going to have to keep it short. Obviously, you don't want to talk about Iowa State, Oklahoma State. It's fine, but thank you for having me on. I was a little nervous I was going to be booted this week. Glad I could join you.
I almost just left you waiting in the lobby and just Leah, where
were you? It was past time. Exactly. It was past time, and I was like, oh yeah, for sure he's kicking me off this week.
Sorry, Leah. I think you froze. I couldn't hear you.
Whatever.
Okay,
whatever. Move on to Eric. Move on.
Also joining us, of course, is the voice of UCF softball and one half of the In the Circle podcast, one of the best voices in all of college softball. He is Eric Lopez.
I just assume you booked all those guests so you and I didn't talk UCF Oklahoma State, because that could be awkward. I figured that's why you had Kat on, have her talk UCF Oklahoma State. And Willis. I'm like the third wheel here in the UCF Oak State series.
It's a bad back-to-back week for me here, okay? It's just bad. I gotta have Iowa State, Oklahoma State last weekend. I've got UCF, Oklahoma State this weekend. I'm stressing about RPI and bracketology and everything else. Okay, I put in my show notes. And I will stand by it.
Woohoo.
By the way, tickets for the Big 12 Softball Championship are on sale now, so go get your tickets right away. Go get those tickets. We'll talk about some more tickets coming up. Leah, series win over Oklahoma State has set a new school program record for conference wins in a single season. First ever road series win over a ranked opponent. Got Big 12 pitcher and player of the week. Your Cyclones, I checked Brady's bracketology on Softball America. They're on the next 4 out, so they are legitimately on the bubble.
Oh, my heart is beating.
Here, I'm going to give you a moment to just bask in it. Say whatever you want. Go ahead.
Oh, and they just beat Iowa. So, they own the state of Iowa, and Coach Pink has never lost to the Iowa Hawkeyes. So that's a big deal. Me being from Iowa, it always feels good to have Iowa State come out on top. But I mean, Phillip, you kind of laid it all out there. Iowa State had a massive weekend. It was incredible. I mean, they always give Oklahoma State such a hard time, but to win the series was pretty awesome. It felt good. I know you were probably upset over there, but it was awesome. They had all 3 facets working for them. I mean, hitting, obviously, you have Sydney on. She is incredible, had 4 home runs. Jesse Clemens going 4 for 4 against All-American Ruby Malin, which is insane as a freshman. You had pitching, Lauren Skirman, Jaden Ralston. They are dealing. I mean, just everything is working for Iowa State right now. Even when they let Oklahoma State kind of come back in, they were able to shut the door on 2 of those games. So I hope they continue to play this way. But I mean, I've just been obsessed with watching Iowa State softball. They are doing all the little things right. They're going the extra mile. And I think they just genuinely love each other, which when you love each other, it's easy to back each other up on the field. So shout out Coach Pink, Coach of the Year.
Everybody love everybody. Eric?
I know. I know. Hey, that too.
I got to follow that. Look, we're going to be efficient on this segment, but Iowa State's got a big series. That's why this makes this Kansas series such a big series for them. If they can win the Kansas series, now you're in double digits in Big 12 wins. You do have 8 top 50 wins as of this recording. That could get you into the bubble in the conversation. Good schedule strength. They might be the team, them and Baylor's we'll talk about a little bit in a moment, or the teams to watch if you're the Big 12 to possibly get a 6-team in the NCAA tournament, more so than BYU. But we got to see it from Iowa State, right? Because this is the thing. You can't have a letdown. Remember, they beat Arizona State. They beat UCF and Arizona State, but then lost that BYU series after winning the first game. So how do they come out against a Kansas team that can pitch really well will be fascinating. And, again, the Jayhawks did win a series against Baylor. They are pitching a winner, coming off a brutal weekend against Arizona. Can't overlook them, though. I'm very curious to see how Iowa State handles this big series. Because to me, if you want to be in that conversation seriously for a regionals, you got to win that series against Kansas.
And this is when softball gets hard, because when you're an underdog and no one expects you to win, it's easy to go out there because you have nothing to lose. Now, all of a sudden, Iowa State is in this talk. They're in the bubble. All of that pressure is going to be on them. They know what's at stake. They know how they're playing. They see the talk. They see social media. All of a sudden, these games get a little bit bigger, a little bit more intense. And exactly like you said, Kansas, they're not a team to overlook. They might not be having the best year, but they could potentially take one from Iowa State, which that could kind of hurt Iowa State in the long run. So very nerve-wracking weekend.
Yeah, I asked Sydney about, what's it like now with the pressure on you? They're checking the RPI. They're aware of where they are. They're aware of the opportunity ahead of them. They're aware that they could be, no one on that roster has been to the postseason. They'd love to be the team that get them back there. And so it does start to build a little bit of pressure. And how do they handle that? I think that's a great way to kind of kick things off. I want to talk about this weekend's games with a view of postseason and RPI and teams on the bubble. I hate having to ask this question because I don't like when teams cancel games for RPI purposes, but the RPI is what it is. And so, Eric, I'll ask this question real quick. You look at what Iowa State has left on the schedule. Obviously, the Kansas series. They've got to go on the road for 3 games at Utah, which is woof. And then they got 3 games against Baylor at home. Then they have a lot of midweeks left. Next week, they have a doubleheader against South Dakota State and a game against UNI. They've got another game on the road at Iowa and then a home game against Drake. I understand that those would, potentially are wins on the schedule. South Dakota State's quad 4 team. UNI is a quad 4 team. Drake is a quad 4 team. I don't like canceling games, but again, right now you're having to play the numbers, the RPI numbers. I don't know that it's in their best interest to keep all those games on the schedule, because sometimes beating quad 4 teams is worse for you than not playing them at all.
You're right about that. The problem is you also need those games to get as high of above 500 as you want, as your Iowa State, which also helps your RPIs, that win percentage. So it's a catch-22. And again, and Leah, you could speak to this better than I can because you played there. It ain't like you can just bust and go get a quality quad 1 game in that region. All right, like Iowa this year has kind of been, decent their quad 2 game. But outside of that, it's not easy. Now, Northern Iowa, something, this is what I don't like. Northern Iowa is better than a quad 4 team. It just, sometimes the schedule, and that's the tough part about it. But it's not easy to schedule games if you're an Iowa State midweeks, like compared to other teams in the South, for example, or an Oklahoma State. So that's the challenge. It's a catch-22 because when he scheduled this, he's, hey, we're just trying to stay above 500, get as many wins. So it is a catch-22. I'm not a fan of the old school doubleheader, to your point. That'd be, maybe I would renegotiate that and drop that down to 1 game because you're begging for a split, and that hurts you, to your point. But
you got a 3-game weekend series, and then you're going to play a doubleheader on Monday against South Dakota State. Then you're going to play a Tuesday game against UNI. Like, that's 6 games in a 5-day stretch. That is asking for an RPI killing loss that blows up all the things that you've built up the last few weeks.
It's tough. Go ahead, Eric.
No, that's true. I mean, Lee, I don't know if you have any story behind that scheduling and that. I don't know what led to that. I don't know if that was just rescheduling stuff or what, but that's tough.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Coach Pink has always had those midweek games. I mean, to be honest, in the past, UNI is usually a little bit better than they are this year. I mean, my sophomore year, they were in the same region as us for the NCAA tournament, with them winning their conference tournament. So it's tough. Those games are really hard. I mean, I just was following along UNI and Drake, and they split. They had a doubleheader or game yesterday, a game today, and they split that game. And it's a little nerve-wracking, and it's hard because it's like, how do you play those games? Do you throw your ace? Do you put Lauren Skirman out there? Do you put Jaden Ralston? But then you've got Kansas, you got Utah, and you've got Baylor on the weekend. It's like, what? How do you even schedule it? What do you do? I know other teams struggle with that too, but when you're on a bubble and when you're so close to the NCAA tournament, I mean, it's tough. It's a conversation to have. So,
well, and Leah, isn't there, I know there's some pressure within the state to play the in-state team. That's a big deal, right? The Big Four, that's a big deal.
It is. You want to win the state. You want to come out on top, and it's been a thing. You always look forward. Obviously, the Iowa State Cyhawk game is really big, but at the end of the day, Drake and UNI are good programs, and they have been in the past. They've both made the tournament before, a few years ago. So it's kind of bragging rights, and you want to play those games. Yeah, I feel for them. It's also tough because you can't play them earlier in the season because of the weather. So,
yeah, it's. I would look at the South Dakota State doubleheader. If you want to keep the UNI and the Drake, I get it. But that South Dakota State doubleheader on that Monday after coming off a series.
I mean, Leah knows Pink. If you want to chip in to buy out South Dakota State, I think Leah can make a call, right?
Let me see what I can do.
I mean, I'd rather sponsor a game for the 10-12 network. I'd love to have a 10-12 softball show game. So first Big 12 school that's we'll let you sponsor a game. I've got some koozies.
That'd be so cool.
I'll send a bag of 10-12 koozies. They can hand them out to the first however many through the gate. Okay. Other games this week, other series this weekend, as Eric has mentioned, Oklahoma State on the road at UCF. Remember, everything this weekend is Thursday, Friday, Saturday because of Easter on Sunday. I think everything's Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Let me double check.
There's a handful of games here and there, but
no one's playing Sunday. So no one's playing Sunday because of Easter Sunday. Look, in this one, if you're UCF, you definitely want to get a win here to keep yourself on sitting in a good spot in the bubble. But if you're Oklahoma State, you're sitting at 18 in the RPI. If you want to host, you've got to stop losing games because every time they drop another game, it's tough. And again, they have good opportunities the rest of the way, but this is definitely a series Oklahoma State has got to go on the road and find a way to win with the way they have struggled the last 2 weeks.
No, you're right. I think it's fair. I was in a conference call with Kenny Gajewski on Wednesday, And I think they had a team meeting and they regrouped. Now they had a good performance against Wichita State on Tuesday night. Run rolled them. He said it was the best they've swung in weeks. Felt it hit more hard balls in that game than the last couple of weeks. So he thinks he's actually pretty positive right now that maybe that they've turned a corner here after the Iowa State series. Now again, he said it's just one game. You got to prove it and all of that. It's a big series because you look at Oklahoma State's remaining regular season schedule. You got Texas midweek next week. After that, you don't really have much else to add to the resume in the next 2 weeks. It will be until the Big 12 championship. So I have them still as the last host team because I think, again, you look at their numbers, their metrics. Top 10 in non-conference schedule strength. I think it's number 4. Top 15 toughest schedule overall in the country. It's like 12 or 13. They have played a ton of the games on the road, and they have, and again, it is worth mentioning. I understand we're kind of a knee-jerk reaction deal, but the committee looks at the body of work, and Oklahoma State's worst loss, resume-wise, as of right now, is Iowa State, who we just talked about 2 minutes ago about possibly being on the bubble for the NCAA tournament, compared to a team like Mississippi State, who had the worst loss that any team had in the entire country this year, losing to Northwestern State, who has 5 wins the whole year, and their RPI is like 290. That is a debacle of a loss. So keep that in perspective. That being said, Oklahoma State needs to get some wins because I think there's another Big 12 team that could come back and take their spot as a host. Interesting storyline here. Kenny Gajewski going against his former assistant, Stacy Pestrak, who came with him from Florida to Oklahoma State. You know about this, Phillip. She spent there the whole time there, came to Florida now to be closer to home state. She's now on the UCF staff. How big of a factor is that going to be in the series? Coach Pestrak knows that roster inside out, and he even admitted, I might have to change some signals or whatever, but how much of a factor could that play against a young UCF team that gets up for the big games, as we've seen? Well, this is as big as it gets. And I'm interested to see how Oklahoma State fares against an Isabella Vega and company. Coach Paul Malone on her conference call this week talked about how, hey, she hasn't beaten Oklahoma State since she's been here, and they kind of want to change that. So there's motivation here for both sides. You mentioned it for UCF. If you were to win a game or win this series, that pretty much locks you in to a regional there. So this is a big series, and obviously I've circled this. I'm excited to call it. And I'm really interested to see how Oklahoma State comes out because I think there's a much more positive vibes from them than you might think after that Wichita State.
No, I watched that Wichita State game, and that's the best that offense has looked in a while. And the biggest thing was they get players on base, and you had bases loaded and had with no outs against Iowa State and scored no runs. Like, they struggle against Oklahoma. They have struggled the last few weeks of they can get players on base, they can get hits, they can get walks, they can get them on, and they don't bring anybody home. They brought them home in that game to get that run roll. That is the best they have looked from a hitting standpoint in a while. And so, again, it's one game. It is against a team that has given Oklahoma State plenty of trouble throughout the years. So it was a positive thing to see. Baylor is on the road at Arizona State this weekend. Arizona State and Baylor. Arizona State still feels like a team that I feel comfortable about making the tournament. Baylor, as you mentioned, kind of on the bubble there. Our good friend Brady Vernon had them as one of the next 4 out as well. So Iowa State and Baylor both kind of playing their way into the bubble with an opportunity to potentially play their way into postseason. This is a big series to me for both of these teams. Arizona State would love to keep just locking themselves in to a postseason opportunity. Baylor would love the opportunity to get to the postseason. I think this is a big series for both of these teams.
I concur with that. I think Baylor trying to play themselves to the bubble quietly. 5 top 50 wins in their resume, top 30 schedule strength. That's really good. And he's got the games left here where he can make a run, Glenn Moore. If they can win a series against Arizona State. God, I think they got BYU after that and Iowa State. That could be the team that's in the conversation for a 6-0. Arizona State looked flat in their loss against Grand Canyon on Tuesday.
Oh, yeah.
This is a big series for them because you're on the positive side of the RPI, but you want to stay that way. You lose this series, now there's some pressure because you end the regular season, remember, in Lubbock against Texas Tech. They don't play a game the last weekend of the regular season. So you don't want to be going into Lubbock thinking, I need to get some wins there against potentially Nyjah Kennedy and company. So this is a big series for both sides. I agree with you. And I think if Baylor wins this series, the conversation for them for the regional bubble picks up. Arizona State, I think if they win this region, I think pretty much locks up a regional spot. By the way, Leah, you notice he did not ask you about Oklahoma State UCF. I don't think he wants you to even make a pick there.
Yeah, because he knows he knows who I'm rooting for per Brady's tweets. UCF.
Thank you. Well, I thought because you and I are tight.
Well, that too, Eric. That's because we're a team like this, but also because we need UCF to win a little bit for Iowa State to be better.
There you go. Sorry, Phillip.
Selfishly.
We had to do that.
Phillip.
Baylor also has a midweek against top 50 RPI Texas State on their schedule, which will help them as well.
It helps, absolutely.
Yeah,
great call.
Look, this is where midweeks can help you down the line if you can get those wins over decent opponents just to boost that RPI and add to it. BYU versus Utah. BYU is on the bubble. We talk all the time. I said it, beat the drum. The drum doesn't work anymore. I've beat it so many times. BYU is their own worst problem with their non-conference strength of schedule. 188th in the country is BYU's non-conference strength of schedule. That's what's killing their RPI right now. I mean, that is why they're at 44th, despite having a good record. It's just you haven't beaten anybody.
Good wins. No, I mean, they have some good wins.
Sure.
I mean, they have the wins against Arizona. They have a win against Arizona State. They have a win against Washington. They got a win against UCF. But you're right. The problem is that non-conference schedule is just staring at you, and the committee left them out last year because of that. I mean, you look at BYU's resume last year, you could argue they should have been one of the 64. Remember, we discussed that.
Yes, they should have.
But they knocked them for the non-conference schedule. And, I like Gordon, but he seems to basically give the finger and said, no, I'm going to schedule the way I'm going to schedule. So we're in a stalemate here. So I think this is a must sweep, which is not a good thing to say when you're playing your rivals in a holy war.
No.
It's a big ask, but it is. They may have to sweep here to keep their hopes alive, not just for their own resume, but you got Baylor and Iowa State maybe trying to chase you down to be that sixth representative potentially from the Big 12. So the pressure's on for BYU to finish strong, to make it clear to the committee they should be selected. If it's close, you're not going to get the benefit of the doubt because of that non-conference schedule.
They played we can talk about the good wins in conference play. They played 3 top 50 opponents in non-conference. And 6 total top 100 teams. It's just loaded with quad 4 teams. And it's not teams you look and go like, well, normally they're really good and normally they're really good. No, it's teams that are consistently quad 4 opponents. You have to schedule better. Houston has a better non-conference strength of schedule. That's a whole lot of teams ranked between 50th and 100, but that boosts your schedule. That's why at one point in the season early on, Houston was knocking on the door of being a quad 1 team. Now they've lost a lot of games since then, but no one's saying you have to put on Oklahoma State's top 4 non-conference schedule, okay? But 188th is not going to cut it unless you're just killing it and not losing games like 2 quad 4 losses that they have on the resume. When you schedule a ton of quad 4 games, you're asking to lose some of them. It's just going to happen. And so he's got to change the philosophy. Again, you don't have to have a murderer's row for your team, but you have got to improve the non-conference top 100. There's zero reason you're in the Big 12 now. Schedule a top 100 non-conference strength of schedule. I don't care if it's 95th. I don't care if it's 89th. It cannot be 188th. That ain't going to cut it. Last one, of course, Arizona and Texas Tech. I mean, it is, I guess we say the best for last or the most important for last from a Big 12 standpoint. I mean, this is a huge series. Texas Tech can lock up the Big 12 regular season this weekend in Tucson. If they win this series, it's done, because they still have a 4-game gap over Arizona. They would own the tiebreaker over Arizona. Texas Tech wins 2, it's done. Texas Tech has won the Big 12 for the regular season. They'll be the 1 seed of the tournament. It's that simple. Even if Arizona sweeps Texas Tech, they're still going to need help to be able to get the top seed. That's why we've said for a couple weeks now, Texas Tech has already got the Big 12 locked up. But if they win 2 of these 3, it's done.
Well, and it's more it's at stake than just that. If you're Texas Tech, to host a regional. This is a big series.
Yeah.
You win this regional, this matchup this weekend, and if you can finish, let's say 7-2, 6-3, here are the rest of the games in the conference. Plus, I think they have a midweek with North Texas, if I remember.
They do.
Which is a top 50 game. Now you go to the Big 12 championship, right? As a 1 seed. You win, let's say you make a run, win the Big 12 championship. I think the committee would give them a host spot. We've seen this the last few years. We saw this with Utah a couple years ago in the Pac-12 championship where they won the tournament, got to host at the last minute. This happens almost every other year. Texas Tech is that team. That's why if I'm Oklahoma State, I'm nervous about that. Texas Tech, but they got to win this series against Arizona because that gets the chatter going. And if you're Arizona, you win this series. Maybe you don't win the Big 12, but you pretty much lock up a regional host spot and maybe get closer to that top 8 seed if you win this series. So I think there's a ton at stake here. By the way, it's a monster weekend for the Big 12. You've got 2 linear games in that series, one on FS1, and the other one I believe has been now ESPN2, I believe, for Texas Tech and Arizona. And then UCF Oklahoma State on Friday is on ESPNU. So this is a weekend where a lot of eyeballs will be on the Big 12 finally with some linear. So this is where you got to make some statements. And you better believe committees will be watching these games. So this is a monster series. And I think we would agree at this point are the 2 best teams in the Big 12 right now, Texas Tech and Arizona.
Leah, would you agree?
Hey, I always agree with what Eric has to say.
Yeah, all right.
I love you. I love you too, Leah. I love you too.
Look, for Texas Tech, like the thing that's everyone, like the 22nd in the RPI, you've swept Baylor and Kansas and Houston and Utah. Your last 3 Big 12 series, as long as they just keep winning, is going to boost that RPI is about to come up. Because you have 3 games against Arizona, 3 games against Arizona State, and 3 games against BYU, plus a North Texas game. They got an Abilene Christian and a UT Arlington, but they've got 3 Big 12 series that are currently all top 50 RPI. Even if BYU drops back some, it's still going to benefit them. The end of the schedule for Texas Tech, just keep winning, you're going to host. Like, even if they don't win the Big 12 tournament, as long as they just keep winning, these are all just going to drive that RPI up. They're going to get to host. And look, I mean, the dream of 3 Big 12 hosts is not dead, but it's going to really rely on Texas Tech and Oklahoma State doing enough both down the stretch to force the committee's hand and make them both host. Even if it's the 14 and 15 seeds, I don't care. I would love to see 3 Big 12 teams hosting this year. That would be huge. And 6 teams total. It would be good for the Big 12. Okay. Before we get to our hour's worth of interviews, Sydney Malott, Sarah Willis, and Kat Osterman, they're like, I hate it because they're really like, I'm not going to sit through all this. Again, they're 3 fantastic interviews. Malott and Osterman are both going to be available by themselves on our YouTube channel. If you just want to go watch those after you listen to this, you don't want to stick around for the whole thing, or you want to listen to it over the weekend, that's fine. Please do. They're both incredible interviews. The one thing I do have to mention is that the inaugural season of the Athletes Unlimited Softball League begins on June 7th, and you don't want to miss seeing pro softball players, including a number of them from the Big 12, which is why we're doing this, because Lex Kilfoyle was the number 1 overall pick when they did the draft. We pitching for the Bandits. I got Sam Shaw of Oklahoma State playing for the Volts. I'm very torn on which one I'm supposed to support. Maybe just support all of them. There's players from Utah and Arizona as well. They're playing across the country. They got games in Chicago, Wichita, Omaha, Lake Charles, Louisiana, Raleigh, North Carolina, Austin, Round Rock, Texas, Chattanooga, Salt Lake City, Tuscaloosa, Norman, Oklahoma, Seattle. Games across the country all summer long. You should buy tickets and go. I am going to try and take my girls. I think it's super cool. I think it sounds like so much fun having weekend series. If you're going to buy your tickets, go do it at theausl.com and use promo code Ten12 TEN12 for 10% off single day tickets. Folks, they're only like $20 for a ticket. They're not expensive. It's a great way to spend a day enjoying some professional softball. If you want to go to the website, theausl.com, use 1012 TEN12 at checkout, get 10% off on the tickets, get a little discount, enjoy a great day. Again, for Big 12 country, Salt Lake City, Norman, Oklahoma, Round Rock, Texas, Wichita, Kansas, a lot of games in Wichita, Kansas. Go check it out. Just go check out the schedule. See when they're coming near you. It's fun. It's going to be great. It's going to be great softball. All right. Hey, guess what? We went longer in this than I thought we were going to.
I knew we would.
What?
I knew we would.
We there's no way. There's no way.
We're chatterboxes.
It's fine. It's fine. Okay. I don't care. They're good interviews. Y'all, thanks as always for listening. Leave us 5 stars. Leave us a thumbs up. Leave us a whole lot of things. Go listen in the Circle podcast. Eric's going to have a great episode. Go ask Leah what's going on with, I think Restaurant Week is over. What is it now?
It's over now.
What's this week? Is there a week every week?
There's no, but Travel and Tourism Week is almost coming up. So book your trips to the Quad Cities.
The Quad Cities. There you go. All right. We'll be back next week with more softball to talk about. Enjoy the games this weekend, y'all.
Hi, here's your report.
Thanks, Jane. I wish I could hire a whole team of yous.
Try posting a job on LinkedIn. It's the world's largest professional network. Unlike resumes, LinkedIn gives a real-time view into a candidate's skills, experiences, and more.
Huh, let's do it. You're irreplaceable, Jane, but another you would be great.
Find your perfect match with LinkedIn. Post your free job at linkedin.com/achieve. That's linkedin.com/achieve. Terms and conditions apply.
The Big 12 Player of the Week, Softball America named her one of their Softball Stars of the Week after an absolutely incredible performance in Stillwater to help Iowa State set a number of records for their softball program. We're very excited to have Sydney Malott, Iowa State Cyclone, joining us today here on the 1012. Sydney, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. I had 2 guests lined up for this week, and then you had the weekend you had, and I said, I told our good friend Leah Nelson, who's a co-host here on the show, Iowa State 11, I was like, I have to get Sydney on. We have to. After what she did in Stillwater and the week she's had, we have to get her on. So I'm thrilled that we were able to make this work and get you on the show today. Very excited to have you here. I mean, look, it was obviously a huge weekend. Iowa State setting a program record for conference wins. Getting a road series win over a ranked opponent. I mean, you getting the accolades that you have. I mean, how has this all been for you ever since this weekend wrapped up, and even, of course, beating Iowa on Tuesday? What's it been like for you the last few days?
Yeah, it's been a long week for sure. We have another series against Kansas this weekend, but going into Oklahoma State, we just had a goal to play our game. The team last year, they beat Oklahoma State in this series, so it's kind of became this little rival. And Oklahoma State, they are a great team, great program. They've done numerous things in the past years, go to the World Series and everything. So when you play them, you just kind of have to stay within yourself, not make the game as big as it is. And we just wanted to go out there. Definitely a goal was to win the series, that we knew how much that series meant with being kind of tied with them in the Big 12 standings. So again, just staying within ourselves, not making the game as big. And then, of course, beating Iowa is always a good thing. It's a Cyclone State. It was a Cyclone State before our game. We had already secured the trophy, but it's always good to beat Iowa, beat the in-state rivalry. But yeah, it's been a chaotic week and it's got more games to come, but it was really fun this last weekend, and it just seeing our team succeed. And it, like you said, the kind of program record, I had no idea that was a program record. So when we knew that we beat not only the Big 12 record, but also going back to the Big 8, it was really special, and it showed how much our work had paid off. And the season's not over, but it was a good it let us breathe a little bit. And we just know that the rest of the season we have to keep playing our game, and we have more program history to make.
Yeah. I mean, look, you've already set the record with 3 series left to go in Big 12 play. It tells me you guys are, obviously the new record's going to be significantly bigger than it was.
Yeah.
Look, a huge series win over Oklahoma State, getting the win over Iowa. The RPI is coming up. Softball America dropped their recent bracketology. You guys are on the bubble, and I think we'll talk with our good friend Eric Lopez of D1 Softball and in the circle here on the show, and I think he would say the same thing, that you guys are going in the right direction. Obviously, you've had the success. Does that stuff start to kind of weigh on you all's mind, as there's our goal of reaching the postseason is there? It's real right now with the way this season has progressed since Big 12 play started, with what we have left on the schedule, with what we've achieved so far. Does that start to kind of seep in of, hey, there's a real chance for us to get back to the postseason here?
Yeah. I think definitely nobody on our team besides transfer Reagan Bartholomew has been to the postseason. So that was a goal coming in, is we wanted to take this program back to where it was. I think 2021, Iowa State made it to the postseason, but it definitely puts a little bit more pressure on your shoulders for sure. But I think it also kind of eases it. It shows you how close we are. We can't go back and kind of change the things that happened in the beginning of the season, which unfortunate, but you have to learn from it and then move past it. And I think it shows how close we are and just how much the season is really close to an end, and we have to be able to finish it out, really lock in for the rest of the season. I think we have 16 games left. So if we can play one game at a time, just playing our game, playing Cyclone softball, again, not letting those things creep in, even though we definitely are talking about it. We definitely are aware of how close we are, and we check the RPI probably every Monday, and we are like, okay, we moved up this much. Okay, we're getting close. This team's moved up. This team's moved back. So we're in a good spot. I think that our schedule for the last 3 weekends with KU, Baylor, and Utah, all great programs, all have had success in the previous years, but we all are kind of similar in standings. We all are very similar teams that compete really well. So I think we have a good schedule to be able to finish out the season how we'd like to.
What is it about this team between the beginning of the season, starting off with that tough loss to Stony Brook, to now? I mean, this team has grown a lot. It's a very young team. Like the word young is one we've used a ton this season across all of college softball, including the Big 12. But to go from where you guys were in game one to where you are now, where have you seen the most growth on this team? And what is it that's helped you guys make the steps forward this year that you have been able to make?
Yeah, I think a lot of it is just not saying we weren't mature in the beginning, but we just didn't have a lot of experience. We had a lot of young players, a lot of new people that it was our first college games, first college starts and everything. So I think at the beginning I think we probably set our like expectations and standards a little too high, and it kind of like popped us in the mouth a little bit, but we were able to reset and we were able to come back from that. And I think that first weekend was really tough for us, and we just were getting in the groove of things, going from practicing all the time and then playing someone different besides yourself is always kind of difficult, but it's also exciting. And being able to respond from it, I think that was the biggest lesson we've learned. And just the preseason as a whole, we really needed a good preseason, and we had an opportunity to, and kind of didn't do as best as we thought. And just being able to kind of take the lessons from each game and apply them to Big 12s. And I think the biggest thing that we've kind of thought about in Big 12s is we weren't projected to be very high. So we kind of just were like, so what? Let's show the world what Iowa State's about. There's no expectations, no standards for us right now. So we really had the opportunity to make our own standard and make our own expectations. So just going into Big 12s, we really just wanted to play our game. We wanted to have fun. That's the biggest thing. I'm having so much fun playing softball, and no matter the wins or losses, I am surrounded by a great group of girls, and we have a lot of fun in the locker room, on the field, and the dugout. We're always having fun. So I think that translates to our play on the field, and just being able to be free and go out there and win some games.
Look, fun is important. Winning is fun.
Yeah.
But just having fun, if you can take some of the pressure off yourself and just enjoy what you're doing, a lot of times that can help lead to more success as opposed to just weighing yourself down, and that burden becomes more and more pressure.
For sure.
But you went 4 for 10 this past weekend, made it on base 6 times, 6 RBI, massive weekend with 4 home runs. Ruby Malin's been fantastic in the circle for the Cowgirls this year, but you kind of seem to have her figured out a little bit. What was it? What was the preparation this week going into the week, or last week going into the weekend, that helped you kind of have the success that you did against her and this entire Oklahoma State pitching staff?
Yeah, like you said, Ruby Malin is an amazing pitcher. She's actually from the Midwest area. She's from Nebraska. I'm from Kansas City. So we played each other all the time growing up. And I don't know. I think the preparation was just kind of not making it too big. She's just another pitcher. She's a really good pitcher, but just it's another softball game. Our preparation actually was kind of short. We had a really quick turnaround. We played UMKC on Tuesday. I think all the days are running together. All the games are running together. But UMKC on Tuesday, we practiced once on Wednesday and then left on Thursday, I think. Or we played Wednesday. I don't know, but
it does. It runs together at a certain point. Yeah.
When you start playing midweeks, you lose track of the days and times and everything. But we had a really quick turnaround. So I think our preparation was we watched a lot of film. We were able to kind of just simplify things. That was my approach in the box, was just keep it simple. It helped out, and the ball went flying, and Ruby provides a lot of the power. So I was just able to make contact, and it flew. But I think the main thing was just all of us had the mindset of just keeping things simple. Our lineup this weekend was absolutely incredible. We were able to trust one another. I knew if I didn't get on base or I didn't hit the ball, the girl after me was. We had a lot of success, like 1 through 9 throughout the lineup. So we were just able to lean on each other and kind of trust each other to get the job done. And that really eases your mind when you go up to bat, is if I don't succeed right now, I know my teammate is, or I know later in the inning or later in the game, we are definitely going to get this rolling. But we just simplified it. I was actually roommates with Jesse Clemens this weekend, and going into the weekend, we both were kind of struggling. We were both kind of like, what's going on? We were doing really good, and then we kind of had a slump, and me and Jesse just talked about it. We were like, this is our weekend. We're going to keep it simple. We're just going to have fun, hit the ball, go back to kind of what we were doing, and just, again, just swing. When you swing, good things happen. So
it's been really interesting so far to see the development of the offense, because obviously when you started Big 12 play, the success came on sweeping UCF by scoring 6 total runs.
Yeah.
The 2 wins over Arizona State were both close 4-3 wins. There were a lot of lower scoring affairs. Then you get into Oklahoma State and you get a big 5-4 win and 8-4 win to see the offense clicking. We talked about 9-5 win over Iowa. The offense really seems like, obviously the pitching has shown real improvement, but the offense has really started to seem like it started to click. Where do you kind of give the credit there for seeing the bats across the entire lineup really start finding success as the season has progressed?
Yeah, like you said, our pitching has been doing phenomenal. We in the beginning of the year, I think we didn't. Our games we didn't have all 3 factors clicking. We didn't have the defense, pitching, and hitting done in one game at once. So I think now we're being able to click all the 3 parts together and kind of run it together. And defensively, we've struggled some games, but we're able to bounce back. We're able to come back the next day. But I think offensively, again, we've came together as a group, and we just told each other, we trust each other. We know that, again, like I said, we have each other's backs. We are able to kind of lean on each other and know that one person's going to get the job done. But our coaches do a great job of preparing us throughout the week. And when the weeks get shorter and kind of playing more games, you don't have as much time to prepare. So we really take advantage of the time that we have. We only have 1 practice today to prepare for Kansas, and that's a great program. So we really take advantage of every practice that we have and kind of make sure that we're locked in defensively, offensively, and pitching does a great job in the bullpens. But the credit, I think all of us deserve all the credit. We are 1 through 9, and all the pinch hitters coming in and everybody on our team, we're able to just kind of control what we can control and have fun up in the batter's box.
You've spent your first 2 seasons at Illinois, entered the transfer portal, and chose to commit to Iowa State. What led you to Ames, and what was your experience like in the portal? I mean, we're in transfer portal season right now across so many sports. That's the spring portal for football, basketball portals is still going. It's such a big topic. It's such a big part of college athletics now. What was your experience like while you were in the portal trying to decide where to go?
Yeah, it's definitely stressful for sure. It's a little chaotic, and especially transferring like in the summer, you have short amount of time to figure out where you're going, and then you have to prepare to go to that place and move in by August. So it's definitely stressful, and it was kind of a big decision. I know everybody that goes through it, it's a really big decision to make. But I think my experience, I have a lot of great support. My family was a really good support. My mom was like, wherever you go, I'll be there. I'll always come to your games. And then going back to like my travel ball coaches, Ryan Taylor did a great job of kind of reaching out to coaches for me, and I was able to go with him and kind of figure out what schools needed and what schools I'd be a good fit at. And he helped out a lot. So just having the support that I had, all my teammates at Illinois, they supported me. They wanted me to be happy, which was really, it meant a lot to me. And then what led me to Iowa State, Coach Pink was the first coach that called me in the portal, and I think we had an hour-long conversation about very little softball. So he was able to kind of just talk to me about life, talk to me about me as a person, which really meant a lot. And so he was the first to call me, and ever since that call, he was texting me every day. He was really adamant about making sure I took a visit to Iowa State. And visits in the summer are a little bit different. You don't get the whole experience of the football game and the basketball game. But Paige Nakashima and Ireland Bus, they were actually staying here over the summer, so they were my hosts. So we went out to dinner, and I think the main thing was they made me feel comfortable. It was obviously going out to dinner with new people is weird and kind of just awkward and everything, but they really made me feel comfortable, and it clicked right away that not just from seeing them too and interacting with them too, I knew this team was all similar. I knew they all were very just like welcoming people. They made the transition a lot easier, and I think that was a really helpful thing. Is right when I got on campus, right when I moved in, my roommates, my teammates, they were all here. They all helped me move in. They all met me, and it was really fun. So I think what led me to Iowa State is just like the culture of the girls. Our locker room, we are really close. We have no drama, which is rare with a group of girls, but we're really close, and we're a really tight-knit group. And that ultimately translates to the field because we hold each other accountable, and we are able to stay close and know that outside of softball, we are all friends. We all love each other so much. And just being able to kind of lean on them and trust them, and they have my back and no matter what. But the coaches obviously were a big factor. Coach Pink is a great person. He cares about me as a player and a person, and he just shows that outside of softball and after life, he'll always be there for you, and he'll be there, the goods, bads, the uglies, and everything in between. So just Iowa State's a great place, and I'm really happy that I came here.
That's awesome. Look, it's like going on a first date. First time you go to dinner with someone you don't know.
It's
like,
awkward.
all right, this is going to be. Let's get through the awkward questions. And as for Coach Pink, we all love him. Like he's fantastic. He's a great guy. Thrilled that you have found a home there in Ames.
Thank
Sydney,
you.
you've been fantastic. Before we get you out of here, we got a few quick fun questions we got to throw at everybody before our interviews wrap. So number one, what is your walk-up song this year?
I have two. My walk-up songs is Where You Are. I had to sing it to make sure I got the right words. Where You Are by John Summit. It's kind of just like a feel-good EDM song, and my teammates all love it. So every time I go up to bat, they sing. So I don't know if it's John Summit singing or my teammates, but both are great. And then I have Sweet Escape by Gwen Stefani.
Okay.
The little throwback, just wanted to make everyone feel good. It's not necessarily for me, it's for the fans and the people in the dugout. So it helped, though channeling their energy kind of helps me throughout my at bat.
Okay. Peanut butter and jelly. What's your jelly of choice?
Ooh, I'm going to go, I think strawberry.
Okay. It's been a popular answer. All right. Would you rather hit a walk-off or rob a walk-off at the wall?
I don't play outfield. I never have played outfield, so I'm going to hit the walk-off. I think, home runs are my thing.
That's after this weekend, we know that. What is your favorite Iowa State uniform?
That's a good question. I think this year I've really liked when we wore, the pins are great. New pins, love the pins. but I think I like the white top with the Cyclone script, white pants, and then you do the white socks with the Cardinal stirrups on top.
Okay.
So a little icy white with a touch of Cardinal.
The Cyclone script is great.
I love the script.
Yeah. It's good look. It's good look. All right. Who is the biggest trash talker on this team?
Oh gosh. I would say she talks a little trash, but she just likes to chirp. I'm going to say Paige Nakashima. I know Angelina said the same thing, but she just loves to chirp. She's always talking. And
that's good.
The coach that's next to us in the dugout, I don't think they would say the same. They don't like her, but she's made a lot of friends in the Big 12. That was one of the first things I learned in the Big 12 is she knew a lot of the coaches because she chirps at them.
That's good. All right. Look, I mean, we heard that she learned from the best, who's Leah Nelson. And we don't call her the trash talk queen of the 1012 network for nothing. So it's good to hear this. We're going to have to get Paige on just for some.
I know.
Just for some trash talk. Just let her come on and chirp.
Competition between Leah and Paige.
Ooh.
You might have to get it going.
When the student becomes the master. We may have to tell her. Okay, I like this. I like where your head's at.
Yeah, see if Leah still has it. I never experienced the Leah trash talk, so I need a little experience of it. I need to see it.
Well, I think she's going to try and be there for the Baylor series. So,
okay. I hope she sits right there by the dugout so I can hear.
Sydney, you've been great. Thank you so much again. Congrats on the success you've had so far this season, you and your team, and good luck this weekend against Kansas. And look, fingers crossed, I'm hoping to see Iowa State in the postseason this year. I think we all are from a Big 12 fan standpoint. So good luck this weekend. Again, congratulations on a great performance in Stillwater.
Thank you so much. I greatly appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
Look around. You can find cars like these on AutoTrader, like that car riding your tail. Or if you're tailgating right now, all those cars doubling as kitchens and living rooms are on AutoTrader too. Are you working out and listening to this ad at the same time? Well, multitasking pro, cars like the ones in the gym parking lot are for sale on AutoTrader. New cars, used cars, electric cars, maybe even flying cars. Okay, no flying cars, but as soon as they get invented, they'll be on AutoTrader. Just you wait. AutoTrader.
I mean, she needs no introduction because if you're listening to the softball show, then you know this name. She is a legend in the sport, and I am absolutely thrilled to have her joining us today. Kat Osterman making her first appearance here on the 1012 softball show. Kat, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you very much. Glad to be here. Obviously, despite the move of my alma mater, I Big 12 at heart, so excited to be here.
It's always interesting because when OU and Texas left, there's all these conversations about, so much of, especially with softball, so much of the media coverage for the Big 12 came from like that OU side because OU got so much attention. And with, as we look at, now you have Pac-12 schools in the Big 12. And so you get some of the people who paid attention to the Pac-12 are paying attention to the Big 12, but now national. How does that work? How, from a former player and someone in the media who covers the sport as a whole, obviously, but still has connections to programs in the Big 12, even though your program's not there anymore. What's that like for you even as an observer?
It's different. I think, you all of a sudden see the SEC branding everywhere. Not gonna lie, I'm in a SEC commercial, and that was a surprise. It was like, oh, surprise! All of a sudden, I'm in that, and I'm like, I never pitched a single game in the SEC, but that's okay. And from the media side, it's something they have to do, obviously, for their best interest, and we have to cover that. And but you talk about rivalries, and you can talk about both Texas OU leaving Big 12 to go to SEC and the Pac, essentially folding because the Pac was a softball historical, that was just the hotbed of history for softball was in the Pac. And so for our sport specifically, it's really different because yes, I know the Big 12 way back when A&M, Nebraska, Missouri were still in it. And there's kids these days that don't even know those three schools were ever really in the Big 12. The changes happen. You kind of just adapt them. But I think the big thing is just trying to figure out, where are the next rivalries that are brewing. And, it's fun to see because obviously this year with the 2 Arizona schools jumping in and Utah, it adds a different dynamic softball wise for the Big 12. But I will admit it's different because, Texas was in the Big 12 for ever and ever. And it's a new era. And I don't know how long it'll take to get used to.
I don't think we'll ever get used to it. Look, I don't know that we ever will, because I don't think it's ever going to feel normal to talk about Utah UCF being a conference game in the Big 12. Like that's never going to make sense.
Right.
We've had these conversations about every sport, right? Football, it's like, yeah, Arizona and West Virginia, that's a conference game in the Big 12 conference. There's no way in my brain for there to be a connection there through the nodes that isn't a normal straight pathway. So this is just the world that we live in, and that's fine. It'll be normal for the next generation. Maybe they'll think it's weird too. Maybe not. I don't know. Let's stick with the Big 12 here. There's plenty of things I'd love to talk with you about. What are your thoughts on this new Big 12 conference? This makeup of the old Pac-12 with Arizona State, and UCF. And Utah. You've got your UCF and your Houston, your BYU brought in, and then you've got what's left of the Big 12 with your Texas Tech, Baylor, Kansas, Oklahoma State, Iowa State. What are your thoughts on this conference from a softball perspective?
Well, I mean, I think the additions were all really good additions. I know BYU, I've covered a couple of their games over the last couple of years, and last year when they entered specifically, their head coach, Gordon Eakin, was like, we've always been a program that's been knocking on the door, but we've never been in a power conference. Now we're in a power conference, and there's recruits he can get that were hard to get before. So there are some big programs that now with the Power 4 moniker have a chance to even elevate their program more because of the way they're able to recruit. Obviously, Arizona State, Arizona have traditions in softball. Arizona, one of the longtime powerhouses. So that brings in something to the Big 12, I think, that unfortunately was lost when OU and Texas left. So they bring that historical trend in. And then expanding into UCF, it's a part of the country that Big 12 really never dabbled in, but UCF has been on the rise. They're probably I think maybe one of few or the only mid-major to be able to host a regional and possibly a super. They've been doing some good things, but I hate to say it, it's like the wild, wild west this year when you're talking about softball in the Big 12, because just when you think somebody is going to start to make a move, there are series upsets that I think have made a lot of people in the softball world that kind of thought they might know how the top part of the Big 12 was going to unfold. It now makes them question and wonder, what's going on, what's really going to happen. I'm going to cover the Big 12 tournament for the first up until the championship game, and I'm not really sure what the seedings are really going to look like in the Big 12. So, it makes it exciting though, because you don't have just one or two teams that are going to be at the top and who's going to be at the bottom, and let some people fight out for the middle, which the Big 12 historically had times like that, where there was a gap between the top three and kind of the rest, or the top three and the bottom three. And so this year I really think, it's up in the air. Anyone's game, anybody can win on any given day, which has made it exciting.
Yeah, we've talked about this a lot this season. We've talked about this in other sports, basketball and football, about the parity in this conference top to bottom. And now after years of Oklahoma dominating and Texas and Oklahoma State being right there in that top three, and you'd have a team kind of rise up and fall forth, this is parity on another level, because we don't know who's going to win each series, and we all think we know who it's going to do. And then all of a sudden Iowa State's going and winning a series at Oklahoma State and making history, and Texas Tech setting new program records for conference wins. And here comes UCF against Arizona, and here comes Arizona State against, and it's a ton of fun. To some extent, I think it's hurting the Big 12 a little bit from a national perspective, because so much of the conversation's on the SEC, and it always is when it comes to softball. We understand that. But because you haven't had a consistent top team, Texas Tech's there, but the RPI can't quite get up there because of the resume. Arizona's hovered around that top 10, and they had a lot of conversation. They got into conference play, and they've lost a Sunday game here and there. Oklahoma State's out of the top 25 at Softball America at this point after their series loss. I mean, they've won one of their last 7 games. the top of the conference doesn't feel as strong with Oklahoma and Texas leaving, and Arizona's been really good. Oklahoma State's been okay. It doesn't feel like the top has delivered in the way that we had thought they would, and the middle's been all over because UCF and up and down, Arizona State up and down, Baylor is disappointed. In a year where we talk about the youth, I think if I had a nickel for every time I said youth on this podcast this season, I could just do this professionally. What do you feel about the conference as far as now, today, and as we head into the future?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think as we mentioned, you talk about as far as future goes, you talk about, UCF is now a few years into this, so is BYU, and Houston as a Power 4 team. And so their recruiting is going to start to continue to rise, which allows them to be way more competitive year after year, and not just in a cycle. A lot of times, I coached at the mid-major level, so you'll have a cycle of where you have one or two really good recruiting classes, and so you're good for 2-3 years, then they graduate, and you got to find that next group because you just don't get the same recruits year over year sometimes at that level. And so the future, I think, is bright as everyone settles into what is the new Big 12. I think you did hit it on the head, though, with Texas, OU, and then the dominance of Oklahoma State in the past, not keeping the Big 12 in the talks. I mean, last year, 3 of the final teams in Oklahoma City were Big 12 teams. And that was a lot of the talk for a long time was, you may not respect the Big 12 as a whole, but those 3 teams were always in the running there at the end. And so, that inconsistency is part of it. But again, you kind of talk about teams graduating and what pieces they have to put together. I think majority of people did think Oklahoma State was going to be making a run for the Big 12 title, having OU and Texas exit. Everyone knew Nyjah Kennedy was going to bring eyes to Tech. She was going to make them a contender anytime she's in the circle. But Oklahoma State has been so tough in the last, it goes back, I want to say, since Kenny got there, basically. But, the 6-7 years, they've been absolutely a force to be reckoned with. And, Arizona, I think, like we said, came in with the tradition and the history. They're strong. Don't get me wrong. Caitlin Lowe took over handful of years ago and is making that her own, and they're competing. But again, they're sitting in second right now, so they're not bad. But I think a lot of people overlooked what they would be able to do in the Big 12. And so while it's not in the national conversation as much as a conference, especially as it has been in the past, if you're following the Big 12, it makes it for entertaining conversation, to be honest. Because like you said, Iowa State takes the series from Oklahoma State. But then you turn around and look, and earlier in season, UCF took 2 from Arizona, but then dropped 2 to Arizona State, who Arizona State's probably someone a lot of people didn't give enough credit to coming into the Big 12, and they're competing well, sitting in 3rd right now, I believe. And then even BYU. They, their arms throw a good game, and they're sitting in 4th, 5th place, kind of in that middle of the pack, could make a run here at the end. And so it's made it exciting when you just look at the fact that there's not a dominant team. So it does allow the race to be a little bit more fun to follow. And if you're an athlete, like, every game matters now because you don't have people who are just running the table. But yeah, on the national scene, I think the talk definitely is down about them as a conference. But I do know that, there are coaches across the board in the SEC, ACC, all of it they're not taking those teams lightly. They know come postseason that they're going to be ready because the competition level in the Big 12 is not down.
No, agreed.
The talent level is still there. And it's more, I think, a dogfight to the end of conference is better for you than just being able to kind of run the table and know you're in the top 2 and go play the tournament and see where NCAA seeds you.
So what you're saying is you'd rather be in the Big 12 than the Big 10. That's what I heard. That's I'm sorry. I'm very excited. Obviously, this is a Big 12 show, but as everybody who listens know, I am an Oklahoma State fan. Thus, the poster behind us. We have Eric here as one of our co-hosts every week. Oklahoma State UCF is one of the series this weekend. A very big one there for both teams. For postseason berth for UCF, Oklahoma State, if they're going to have any chance of hosting at all, they're going to have to turn some things around. You are going to be on the call for Friday's game, which has been picked up to be broadcast on ESPNU, which is very exciting. Any opportunity we get to see Big 12 off of just ESPN Plus. I know that one of the Arizona Texas Tech games has been picked up. I think ESPN2 in that series is this weekend as well. So more Big 12 softball on ESPN's regular channels is a positive. Obviously, you've got a few days to get yourself prepared. You're just having opportunities to talk with coaches ahead of this weekend, it being Easter weekend. So teams don't typically play on Sunday. BYU's like, what? That's what we do every week. But what are your thoughts on this Oklahoma State UCF matchup, and what are you kind of hoping to see in your game on Friday?
I think going back to talking about the craziness of the Big 12, you really could see anything in this series. Even I happened to, not for an official call, but just talk to Cindy Ball-Malone about something else this morning. And I was like, yeah, how's it going? And she's like, man, this team can beat the number 2 team in the country. And then we can lose to who knows what, like within the same week. And, the parity is real, but I think this is going to be a good matchup in the sense that Oklahoma State is trying to regain their footing. They haven't been competing as well as they would like in the last few games. That series in Iowa State, and even preceding that, there was an interview with Coach Kenny on social media afterwards, and he's like, I think he joked, but I'm sure most coaches do their best thinking when they're alone mowing the yard, because that's what he said he was going to go do to think, but just on how they need to regroup, because he really feels like the talent should be performing better. And I think, the eyes on the Big 12 have thought that as well. I mean, he got big transfers in Ruby Malin and Riley Crandall to come in to boost up their pitching staff. And offensively, Oklahoma State, like we said, has been a force for years now. And he's just trying to figure out how to get that to click. And, on the flip side, Cindy Ball-Malone's like, hey, if we can strike why they're down, it's going to be a great series for them. But as we've mentioned, they've also had great series where they've risen to the occasion to play against an Arizona. So they're capable of it, but how can they do that for 3 games at home against the Cowgirls? I think a lot of it is going to be really determined on whose pitching shows up. Ruby Malin has had some very dominant games, but then at the same time, you watched her this past weekend and Iowa State was able to barrel her up decently well. The limiting the free passes has to be a little bit better as well for her to be able to really make a stake in this series. And then Cindy Ball-Malone does a great job with, her pitching staff being able to utilize matchups. She always has arms that have really great off-speed pitches to keep people off balance. Graduated last year, but Sarah Willis was one of those. And, she always finds the next arm that can do whatever the arm that's graduating does. And so I really think the key is going to be which pitching staff can be on point, just better than the other pitching staff. Because I think both teams have shown that they can put up runs, they can compete, the intensity's there. I really think the question is, in the circle, who can keep the other one's offense down, which is the name of the game. Let's not act like I'm saying anything that's monumental, but I do think on paper, Oklahoma State's pitching should have been performing better up to this point in season.
I mean, obviously they've got issues behind Ruby at Oklahoma State. The offense, however, is from a runs per game standpoint, this is the worst Oklahoma State team since I think Kenny's second year. And so it's an across the board issue. We had him on the show last week and talked about it. And he knows. It'll be interesting to see if they can get this kind of turned around and fixed, or if the Oklahoma City streak is gonna come to an end. And on the UCF side, look, it's 2 teams who struggle to hit the ball with any sort of consistency. So I have no idea how to predict this weekend. None. You could tell me it's 3 2-0 games. You could tell me it's 2-0 game, a 9-8 game, and then a 3-4 10 inning game. I have no clue what this weekend's going to look like there in Orlando, which should make it a lot of fun. Should make it a lot of fun for you on Friday on the call there. Kat, before we get you out of here, I do want to talk about, you are working with the AUSL. They have started their new league, their new professional league that gets underway this summer. We'll be traveling around the country. You've got games in Wichita, Kansas, down in Round Rock. You've got games out in Salt Lake City. Norman's going to host a series for a weekend. There are a number of Big 12 alums. You are the general manager for the Volts. 2 Big 12 alums and then an Arizona alum, because technically she didn't play in the Big 12. In Deja, I'm going to pronounce her last name wrong. So if you want to help me there, I would appreciate
Mulipola.
Thank you. And then Sam Shao from Oklahoma State and Tiare Jennings from Oklahoma. Tell me just a little bit about AUSL, how you ended up in this role as general manager for the Volts.
Yeah. So, go back to COVID. I played with AU when they launched, and obviously their first venture into softball was kind of best way to describe it is the fantasy sports life and in real life, real time, because, we got to, as players, play, you accumulate points based on not only individual performance, but team winning innings and winning games. And then obviously you draft a new team every week. And so it was kind of fun. It was very fun, but players and fans alike really wanted some type of concept where it was more consistency within a team and with some coaches and accountability. And so Athletes Unlimited did that model for 5 years. And then last June, we announced that we were going to launch into AUSL, which is a league, 4 teams. No one changes rosters unless there's a trade like Major League Baseball or any other sport. And then they get consistency playing with the same team for, 30 games. I think this season's 24, but we have the ability to go into 30 if we need. I was on the player advisory board. They had Jessica Mendoza, Tasha Watley, Finch, and myself as the advisory board to, help generate buzz about the launch. But we've also been part of conversations in, figuring out who can be head coaches and GMs and things like that. And it was while we were talking about head coaches and GMs that actually the other 3 of them said, hey, you've been part of AU. You've coached, you've done it. Have you thought about being a coach or a GM in our league? And I had kind of thought about it. I have a couple other commitments that kept me from really jumping in on the coaching side. But the more I thought about the GM role, I was like, I can do that because I don't have to be in person every game as a GM. And so I have my other commitments can be fulfilled, but I really truly love Athletes Unlimited. It was a great playing experience. They are a great organization. The people within it, the content, all of it is top notch. And it's the best that our sport has ever seen in the professional environment. And so, I said, sure, if you guys think I'm qualified and I'd make a good GM, like I think I can do it. So I went through the interview process. I might have been the only interview that all 3 of them were on all together because I think we kind of teamed up 2 and 2 for some of our other stuff. But so they all kind of grilled me, and I can approach it from, like I said, the side having coached college for 12 years, having been familiar with Athletes Unlimited, having played professionally in various different realms with the national team, the now no longer in existence NPF, all of those that I had experience to draw on. And, I know some of these athletes, so it's kind of fun to be general managing, but I know the way they think a little bit, so I can ask them their opinion on certain decisions when I know an athlete's opinion should be weighed in, and it's not just a GM or coach wants it this way. So it's been fun. I don't have to cut anybody out or release anybody. That'll be the hard part, especially if it's somebody I know well. But we got to draft, and we're going to do a college draft here in a little bit. So it's going to be fun because it's been fun to put the pieces together and try to see on paper, did you put a team together once we get going that really performs as well as you think they're going to. So I've enjoyed it. And it's a nice roll into, I've been retired, but being able to stay part of the game and now hopefully make this be the place for pro softball to finally take off and have consistency.
I love the model. I love that you got games across the country, from Washington to Wichita to Texas to North Carolina. I think it's great. I'm going to try very hard to get my girls out to either Norman or to Round Rock. I'll wrap on this, Kat. I'm very torn whether to be a fan of the Volts because of Sam Shao or a fan of the Bandits because of Lexi Kilfoyle. And I'm not. I can't make a decision here. I'm having a hard time, Kat. So why should I be a Volts fan?
I think you should just be a Volts fan.
Okay.
Sam Shao is going to be allowed to bat flip if she wants. She has to understand someone else may respond, but hey, do what you got to do to generate the excitement.
There it is. And I'm just going to have to cheer for both. And then when they play, I don't know what I'll do. So
you can be neutral when they play. How about that?
I like that. I'll just wear just a solid white hat. Kat, you have been fantastic. Thank you so much for your time today. I know you've got a lot on your plate. You're really busy. getting ready for this weekend. It's Easter weekend. You got the AUSL getting ready. So thank you so much for your time. We really, really appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me.
Very excited to have, I think, a UCF softball legend at this point. I mean, I don't think you can talk about UCF softball and not know who Sarah Willis is, but she is joining us here on the 1012 podcast for the very first time. Sarah, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm super excited to be here and talk with you.
Hey, we are excited to have you. We're going to talk a little UCF. We're going to talk about our good friend Eric Lopez, who I know you know very well. But I want to start off talking a little bit about the AUSL. This inaugural season of AUSL professional softball and having 4 set teams traveling across the country. You are on the roster for the Bandits, a team that I will be cheering for, in part because of you, but also because as an Oklahoma State fan at heart, having Lexi Kilfoyle is how can I not? How can I not do that? So let's start off with, tell me about AUSL. What led to you deciding that this was an effort that you wanted to be a part of?
So I just think that the Athletes Unlimited League in general, just starting off with softball at the start, was in 2020, and they were going through COVID and having everything be kind of unknown. So I just think getting to watch them since then, and then leading up to when I graduated, I really wanted to be a part of this league. And so now getting an opportunity to play last summer and then them starting the AUSL league, I think it's just a great opportunity because having something separate from the leaderboard point system is just going to create an opportunity for everybody to come watch at different places, like you said, because we are traveling around. So having that opportunity to go play in places that I've never been, like Nebraska, I've never been to Alabama. So just getting to go to different schools, I think, is really cool because then everybody gets to see us across the board. It's not just Chicago or not just Wichita, like the last year for me has been when I played for Athletes Unlimited. And so I'm also really excited to get to play in a team format as well. I think you get to switch every week usually. So getting to be with a set group of players, I'm really excited, especially just with the competitive arms that we have. Like you said, Lexi Kilfoyle, like I got to play against her in college. And so getting to know her more personally, I'm really excited. Same thing with Taylor McQuillan and Odyssey Alexander, like just a great pitching staff that we have. And then same thing with our team, like just a multitude of different players from different schools, but getting to compete with them, I'm really excited. Like people from UCLA, like Bubba, and then just literally all of the different people we have on our team. Like we have a diverse group of people, and I'm really excited to get to compete.
How much time have you gotten to spend with the teammates that you have so far? How much opportunity you had to kind of build some camaraderie with them at this point?
So, like I said, the teams switch every single week, so it can be kind of difficult sometimes because there are people that I didn't get to play with, or there are people that I got to play with almost every week. Like this past summer, I think I was on Lexi's team almost 4 times. I think she drafted me 3 weeks in a row, 3 or 4 weeks in a row. So like I got to spend a lot of time with Lexi. Same thing with Sid McKinney. I played with her in the AUX and in the champ season, so I got to play with her a lot. I'm trying to think of who else. I don't know how many times I played with Delaney Wiz, so I'm really excited to get to play with her because she's just a dog. Like she's a really good hitter, really good fielder, so I'm excited I don't have to pitch to her anymore. We have a broad list. I'm trying to think of. I'm like drawing a blank. I haven't really gotten to play with Mia Davidson because she got hurt during last season, so I only got to pitch to her a little bit. So I'm really excited. I got to play with Jordan Roberts, super cute, cool human, down to earth. I love playing with her. I didn't get to play with Bubba as much as I wanted to, so I'm excited to play with Bubba because she's a really, really good outfielder. I feel like I played with Skylar 2 weeks last year. I'm trying to think of who else. I feel like I played with Lexi the most, which was really nice because like having another pitcher who knows the game and like knows how to just like switch pitchers in and out, but then also give you your time to shine. Yeah. I didn't get to play with Odyssey much, so I'm excited. Like I got to hang out with her outside of the field, but I didn't get to play with her much on the field, so I'm excited about playing with her. I played with Taylor a little bit as well. Just I think having a lefty on staff is always really cool, and then having somebody who throws the way she does, like it'll be really exciting.
So at this point, you've got a pretty good relationship with Lexi Kilfoyle, I would say.
Yeah, really awesome.
That's awesome.
Like,
That's
she's
fantastic.
obviously, like, you see her in the circle and she's like super serious, but then like she's got a goofy side to her too that you don't really see on the field, which is really nice. I feel like sometimes you see people and you only see them for the athlete that they are on the field, but then like you get to know them outside of your sport, and then you find out like there's a whole bunch of different things about them that you didn't know. So yeah, I'm excited to get to play with her again.
You mentioned, of course, traveling across the country from Washington to Round Rock, Texas, to Norman, Oklahoma, to Wichita, Kansas, to out to North Carolina. Any spot in particular that you're excited about getting to go to this year?
So every team doesn't get to travel to every place, which is unfortunate because I would like to go to every single city because it's just nice to see the whole United States and see all the different stadiums, get to see all the different scenery, meet a whole bunch of different fans. I'm really excited to go to Alabama. I haven't been to the University of Alabama, so that's one school that I really want to go to. And then Sulphur, Louisiana too. I'm excited to go there. I just feel like I'm from the West Coast. I'm from California, so like I've been to a lot of the states that are closer. Like I've been to Wichita, been to Utah, been to Washington. I spent my first 2 years of school there at the University of Washington. If you didn't know, I was a dog first. So like I've been there. I've been a lot of schools on the West Coast, but I haven't traveled to the South as much. So definitely just seeing a lot of more of the southern states, and then also going to Omaha too. I'm excited.
What are you most excited about for this season?
I think softball in general just really brings out the most competitive part of me. So just getting an opportunity to compete. And I think it's really cool because I used to watch the Bandits a little bit like growing up. I kind of followed them because I feel like they were one of the most prominent teams. So now getting to play for the organization and under that name, I'm really excited. I think AU gives a great opportunity to just get to compete, but also get to meet so many cool people while competing and playing softball. And so I'm really just excited to get to meet a new group of girls and get to meet such an amazing coaching staff. I think getting to play under Stacey Newman is going to be such a treat because, like, also just another person who I've heard about so much. I have played against San Diego State in college, so I got to see a little bit of her coaching style, but like getting to meet her in person and play under her, I'm really excited to just see all the different things that she brings to the table. And then again, just like getting to play against my friends that I've got to meet through AU on these other teams, and just seeing what everybody gets to bring to the table and get to see a bunch of new places too.
That's cool. That's great. I'm looking forward to the season getting started. We can't let you go before talking about UCF a little bit. Now part of the coaching staff, just you were playing last season. Now you're on staff. What's that transition been like for you to go from playing on this team to now being one of, obviously you were a leader last year, but one of the voices in the locker room trying to coach these players up?
I think at the start it was a little bit weird just because like I'm here every day still, but I'm not putting on the uniform. I'm not suiting up my cleats. So it was a little bit of a transition, just like trying to find the common ground of like knowing what I needed to do for the players to best suit them and like what they needed from me. But I think just getting an opportunity to be able to coach some competitive and amazing athletes is all I can ask for. And was super excited to get to work with Coach Bear and Shannon Sale because getting to play under them was such a great opportunity. And then now getting to coach with them and under them and learn from them, I'm just super excited because I want to go into coaching after I do finish school. So getting an opportunity to learn from them and build up myself and become the best coach that I can be is something that I've always wanted. And getting to do it under them, I couldn't ask for something better.
Okay, so talk to me about Coach Bear versus Boss Bear.
I mean, I think that I always can joke with either. I think Coach Bear definitely has Mama Bear, and she has not the kid gloves on, but like she wouldn't have said the same stuff to me that she would say to me now. And then just also like giving it back and giving it hard because if she always tells me like if I want to be a coach, then I have to learn how to talk to everyone. It's not just about talking to one person easy because they are a competitor like me, like figuring out how to speak to everyone and getting everybody to understand a multitude of things. Because not all the pitchers on the staff are the same, or not all the pitchers throw like me. Like some people are more spinny and have more pitches than I throw, but just like learning how to communicate with people and learning the best ways to coach people, because not everybody grew up the same. Not everybody like learned to play softball the same way. So just like becoming the best coach, but being able to spread knowledge to everyone.
So our good friend Eric Lopez, who you know is co-host here on the show. So I've got to ask, kind of a similar question. What was it like having him call your games? What's it like now, building off that relationship with him up there in the booth?
I mean, just getting to work with Elo, like now, he's just such a funny guy. So like I'm always coming up into the press box and we'll be talking to him. I can't do it during the game, obviously, because he was really locked in, but just like getting to talk to him just outside is really funny because he still will talk to me like I'm playing sometimes. And so I think he's just always such a supportive guy. I think sometimes you like forget like that he is the person that he is because he's just so humble about everything that he goes about and how he does and how he speaks to people. So he always hypes me up, whether it's like me being on the field, like you said, or me talking to him just like every day. I think that he does a really good job of pumping up everyone. Like, because when I go back and I watch games, like obviously he talks very highly about the UCF players and everything, but then he also like talks very highly about the other pitchers and other teams as well. And I feel like you don't always get that when you're talking to analysts sometimes and color commentators. Like when you go like, because I've been to a multitude of different places, and so he just always hypes you up in every way possible, whether you're on the team or not. And I think that's really something I love about him.
Yeah, look, he's the voice of UCF softball, but I mean, the man covers all college softball and is one of the best to do it. So we're always thrilled to have him on the show. Thrilled that he's a part of the Big 12 conference. I think he's a great voice for the conference as a whole. We'll wrap up on this, Sarah. I want to say thank you first, but been a really interesting season for UCF so far, kind of up and down, really high highs, some odd moments here. What's the message? I know I talked to Cindy Ball-Malone before the season, and the message, the motto for the season was, Weebles wobble, but they don't fall down. So you wanted to Weeble wobble, not completely fall down. And it feels like that's been an apt description of this year's team. What's the message here these last few weeks as you guys head into and prepare for the postseason?
I think one of the main things is just like staying consistent in what we do, because how you do anything is how you do everything. So whether it's going from like just leaving it better than you found it when we're at other stadiums, cleaning up after ourselves, I think it's about like we don't say that anything's little, but it's like going from the little things of just keeping our areas clean, because that translates out onto the field, like picking up balls, whether it's home run balls, like you hit it, you get it, things like that. I think everything goes into how you play the game and how the game pays you back. But I would just say, staying consistent and just being the team that we know how to be, not trying to be something that we're not. Because I think sometimes you get caught up in that when you go to, like, for instance, like we just went to Oklahoma and they just, like, their stadium's just absolutely amazing. And then we come back and it's like, okay, like we don't have all of those things, but how do we go about being the best team that we can be with what we have, if that makes sense? So just being the best and most competitive versions of ourselves and staying consistent in what we know how to do as a team.
That's awesome. It's a great message. Sarah, thank you so much. Really appreciate you having me on the show. Sorry for any technical difficulties we've had, but I mean, this has been a great interview. Good luck to you and your Bandits. Good luck to you and your Knights the rest of the season. And we look forward to talking to you again soon.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
Hi, I'm Kristen Bell. Carvana makes car buying easy. Isn't that right, hun? Dax?
Sorry, did you know about this 7-day money-back guarantee?
A week to evaluate seat comfiness, you say?
A week of terrain tests? Yeah, I can test the brake pad resistance at variable speeds.
Make sure all the kids' stuff fits nicely.
Make sure our stuff fits nicely.
Oh,
Right. Still need to buy the car. getting ahead of ourselves here.
Buy your car with Carvana today.